Listen, young people, write this down. Listen, parents, write this down. Politics is the protection of economics. In any society, politics is the protection of economics. And those who have no economics to protect is powerless with their politics. Y'all got it? If we don't have economics to protect, we're powerless despite our politics.
Come on.
So maybe what black folks in Queens, in New York, in America, and what we ought to start doing around the world is to create a political infrastructure, which means rebuilding the walls, because when you build the walls, then you can put up legitimate political gates. That is Nehemiah. That is Nehemiah. So if we sit back and we remain inactive and reactive, because the end result of being inactive is to be reactive. Let me say it another way. If we spend our time being inactive in the political and economic process, we will find ourselves being reactive when there is social decay.
Right.
And so the big problem that we're dealing with is that we are reacting. Almost every movement for us as of late is reactionary movements because there's not enough proactive strategies. Young people, you got me? Y'all get me? So y'all have to work hard in school, you got to do well in school, and you got to now become proactive, because once you are proactive, then you've laid forth a new pathway that will certainly begin to change the landscape for our people as we move forward. Amen, amen, amen. So let me just share this with you guys, creating the image of God. And you're about to say this with me. We're about to say this with me. Created in the image of God, we are both human and divine. Everybody say this with me. I need everybody to say this with me. Created in the image of God, we are what? Both human and divine. Watch this. To maximize your human power as an achiever, I must harness my divine power as a believer. I would be surprised if you got it. So let me just break it down to you. Everything about you that causes you to create from within is divine. Your imagination is divine. Your creativity is divine. Your will, your intellect to thrive, to be, to rise, all of that is divine. To actualize is divine. And so, if you understand your divine nature and your divine power, then you will recognize that at some point, after you have utilized the power of your own human divinity, to imagine, to orchestrate, to create, to desire, to aspire, then all of a sudden you can now apply and harness your human power in order to actualize. Everybody get it? Everybody get it? Glory be to God. So let me just say this as we wrap it up. I want to say that your belief, my belief, everybody say my belief, fuels my conviction. Conviction gives me the drive and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm challenges my imagination. And my imagination is the good ground for action. So now all of a sudden, I can begin to act. So there are 4 groups of people in this room today. 4 groups of people in this room. 4 sets of young people in this room. 4 sets. 4 sets of people in Brooklyn United. 4 groups of people. For every one of you, 4 in your family, 4 groups. 4 groups. I deal with all 4 groups almost every day of my life. Number 1, you have the loafers. I never do. You have some loafers. I know because I used to be one of them. You have the loafers, you have the complainers, you have the builders, and you have the architect. You know, everybody, who am I and where am I? Which one of these 4 categories do I find myself? Ask yourself the question, am I a loafer, a complainer, a builder, or am I an architect? So the loafer operates in dormancy. In dormancy, I mean, you know, and by the way, when we sit in a place too long, we grow into this negative, ungodly place we call dormancy. I got to tell it to us straight. I mean, you can't be a child of God and be lazy. So when I'm alone, there's dormancy, there's the lack of drive, there's complacency, you know. And by the way, in Jerusalem, I mean, bear in mind that some complainers, watch this, I need you to watch this now. Some complainers literally left Togo. I'm just using Togo as an example. Or they left Nigeria, or they left Guyana, or Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, they left Haiti. And these complainers journeyed all the way to the United States of America, in Washington, D.C., to complain about the problem back home. You gotta get this. Wow. They did not even grow strong enough to recognize that God has installed within each and every human being the power to do what you're expecting others to do. Every human being, God has wired you, and He has placed within you some power to do this stuff beyond anything that you've ever done. But if you spend your time loafing and complaining, you will never be able to tap into the deeper innate power that God has installed in you. It can't come out that way. I'll let you look at the others and deal with that for yourself. The 3rd group of people are the builders. And I think this is the biggest struggle for black people and a lot of us who would categorize as colored in our world today. We find ourselves in the builder category. We are busy building. We're busy implementing. The reason why, I mean, by the way, every social cause that all of you are doing are great causes, and you should keep doing them. But I will say to us that you could, have all the passion in the world to fix the world and to fix the problem. Nothing is gonna get fixed because all you're doing, you're building as opposed to being an architect. So you're building. So when folks come to me, and I deal with this all the time, folks come to me with social agendas, and I say to them, great job, keep up the good work, but that's not what we do. Because I recognize that until we get to building the walls, we will never be able to put up gates. Oh, y'all missed it again. until we get to building the walls, the economic structure of your family. You gotta build walls, the economic structure of your community. You gotta build walls, the economic structure of your country. You gotta build walls, the economic structure of your continent. You gotta build walls, because after you have built the walls, you can dictate who will be at the gates and who they should let in and who they should keep up. I really don't have time to break this down. But I can't stress more the urgency of more architects amongst us, more creators, more innovators, more visionary people who, because if to every social agenda we inculcate a God foundation and build an economic structure, we solve every social problem that Africans and black people deal with around the world. If not, we will always be putting out our hands for handouts because we are busy building and not busy orchestrating. And I hate to put down the builders, because, it's a good thing that the builders are doing. Yes, I meet folks all the time so passionate, and I say, listen, if you spend your entire life trying to get black people off diabetes, you will never get them off diabetes, because there's an economic problem that's at the foundation of the diabetes that they're dealing with. If you spend all of your days trying to get young people in drug rehabilitation program, you will never solve the problem, because when they journey back to their community and they walk into the Dunkin's Donut, their people don't own it. When they walk to KFC, they don't own it. When they go to Stop and Shop, they don't see their people owning it. When they go to the print shop, they're not operating it. When they go to Wall Street, they have no control of it. When they go to the mall, there's no vested interest in it. And so all you talk about getting them off drugs will only get solved when they walk into community and know that their uncle owned that mall, or their cousin have interest in that operation. That is where the people of God ought to move in this city. Fix the problem. We really have to fix the problem. I'm going to share some statistics with us. Rest of time as I close. And I really want us to understand the urgency of the moment, the urgency of now. Blacks of all shapes, all colors. We are 1.8 billion people in the world, out of a population of about 7.9 billion. Of that number of black people in the world, we're about 23% of the global population. 23%. Of the global population. Do you know that we're only 8% of the world's GDP? 8%. If. Do you know that there's no African country among the top 20 highest GDP countries in the world? Zero African country. I mean, can I make it a little worse for you? So no African country among the top 20 per capita GDP in the world, 0 African countries. Can I tell you that all 20 of the countries at the bottom of the scale, as it relates to per capita GDP, all 20 of them are African countries. The walls are broken down. And by the way, that's why it's resurgence. If the walls are broken down, it means that at some point there were walls.
That's good.
The walls are broken down, and because the walls are broken down, I hear folks complaining about the corruption among elected leaders and governments in Africa, and yes, there is a lot of corruption. By the way, there is probably a whole lot more corruption in America, in Europe, and every place else. They just have the capacity to hide it better because they have the economic capability to do so. You all miss that. You all miss that. They can hide. And when you have economics, when you have the capacity and the capability, you do stuff that others can't do. Now, I'm not negating the fact that there are some corruption issues. All around, there are corruption issues. But I'm helping us to understand that the only way we're going to fix the problem, we, the Nehemiahs, somebody say I'm a Nehemiah. We, the Nehemiahs, have to really come together and recognize that it is our responsibility, designed by God, ordained by the Creator, to fix the problem and not wait for somebody else to do it for us. When we look at the fact that Burundi, the poorest country in the world as it relates to per capita GDP, have a per capita GDP, listen to this number, of $679. That is the per capita GDP for the entire country. Average person's earning for the entire year. That might be a good way to put it. It's not 100% that, but that's a good way to put it. Most of us in this room make more than that in a week. It just sink in. And after Burundi, then there's Mozambique, second lowest per capita GDP in the world, $1,258. And then Malawi at $14,075. $1,475. Those are the issues, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the stuff that we have to get busy fixing. So look at this. And you're about to just look at this chart. I want everybody to get this. Look at this chart. When you look at this chart, you understand a couple of key principles. And that is Africa, of all the continents. And by the way, all of this data I'm giving you is in the Economic State Report, so make sure you get a copy before you leave. Look at Africa, the wealthiest continent on the planet, with the lowest per capita GDP at a mere $4,735. My brothers and sisters, the walls are broken and the gates are burned. God is saying to his people now, God is saying to his people now, let us arise. What else can I say? In the interest of time, I just want to call each and every one of us to change. Look at the resources, just the next one real quick. Top 10 mineral producing countries in Africa. South Africa at the top. Look at how much money in terms of just gold, diamond. Manganese and other stuff that are being produced. Look, $125 billion a year. It's 1% one country all the way down to Zimbabwe. $11 billion in resources. And by the way, let me, if the musicians are going to play, I want to make this quick appeal because I'm going to be very quick with this. I want to call everybody into a stronger place of commitment right now. I studied these numbers intently, and there was an area, there was a time that's called the gold rush, when everybody was rushing to South Africa. Name a few, like J.P. Morgan and the Forbes, the Rothschild, all of them rushing, Cecil, Rhodes to South Africa. And do you know that? Watch this number. Watch this number. Put it up for me, the next slide. The next slide. Watch this number. Do you know that in 10 years, everybody say 10 years. 10 years. Put up 10 fingers, everybody. A mere 10 years. The value of gold that these interlopers pulled out of South Africa alone within